the carrot of face-to-face learning and keeping your kids in school will entice some folks to look at the data and look at the science and make some decisions for the health of their kids.
Of the 65 and up population, how much of our basic population is that as a percentage?
I could certainly pull all the numbers for you. The raw number for that 65 to 74 age group is 7,900 people. So of those 7,900 people, whatever 93% of, I'll have to look at an accountant to do some math, but yeah, I would assume we're close to 8,000 folks in that particular age group. I don't have that data readily available. I'm not smart enough to add it that quickly, but
we can figure that out.
I can certainly provide you the breakdown from each age group as to how many people are in that age group and how many raw numbers. But we're doing well in the upper age folks, and certainly our weakest spot is the 12 to 19 folks.
Commissioner Twilliger.
Yes, I'm really, really hoping that you have a run of students that are trying to get in clinics in August, and everybody's just not focusing on the school year. They're enjoying the summer. That's what I really hope. So, do you have a breakthrough number where we are as opposed to last month? Is it still staying about 5% of population vaccinated?
That's about standard. Yes, that's pretty close. And again, we are
not hospitalized. They're not being hospitalized.
No, and the takeaway that whenever I speak to someone with breakthrough disease or vaccinations is that we know one thing for sure about the vaccine: it's very effective in preventing death or severe illness. So that's regardless of breakthrough numbers, I really think that is warranted to look at vaccine because people aren't getting very sick and they're not dying.
Thank you. Counselor, did you have a question?
Just one. One major university in the state of Michigan has required or is requiring their students to be vaccinated before going on campus. Just one, maybe there's more. We have a Northwood University here. Are they inclined to do the same sort of requirement?
We have a meeting later this week, but I think that is something that all universities are discussing at this point for their back-to-school guidance. And I can speak that we put a lot of time in with Northwood, so I know the plight that they went through to keep their students safe, and it is a lot of work. And if you're trying to, they did isolation dorms for their sick students and what. So I would think that all universities would be looking out and saying, what can we do to least impact our face-to-face learning? So I would assume every university is having that conversation.
Would that be true with Delta College as well?
I would assume that they're having that conversation. I would think it would be a little more difficult with the community college, but I think that what I've seen so far, those who are requiring their folks or their kids are living on campus are having those more serious talks.
Are they in pretty firm legal ground to do that, Bill?
I don't know. I would like to think the legislature would bless that activity or that action, but I don't know that I've seen anything like that.
Okay.
They can control the people who spend their time to live there. They won't allow them in the dorms. I think that's where we are right now. But as far as going on campus or attending classes, I'm not so sure.
I know Rutgers was the first major university in the country that a couple really early, like early June, made the announcement that all their folks, they were going to require a vaccine coming back on campus. So I think it's a conversation everyone is having, certainly. So moving ahead, again, where our community is in a much better spot, we would like to keep it that way. We know there are factors in the fall that are working against us. Those schools, for one, being a vulnerable group with a congregate setting, people moving indoors. So certainly we'd like to keep these rates as low as possible and continue to increase our vaccine. We are still working at every outreach event. We're going to work closely with the schools as they're back to school. Immunizations. I think the teaching population of our schools and staff is in a pretty good spot. I think we're between 70 and 80% of those folks have got a vaccine, but we certainly want to continue to work on that student population. We're collaborating with everyone who wants to talk to us, Mid-Michigan Health, the Community Foundation have both been great partners helping us to do some outreach, and we're going to continue to work because, again, I'll stress, this is a disease right now of the unvaccinated, and that is the path that we're going to have is to continue to push vaccine and attack it that way. Any other questions?
Commissioner Nielsen.
Just a final point. I still have to wear a mask going into the hospital. Is there a reason for that, given the CDC guidance?
I think that, for instance, our department, we've made the decision to still mask in medical settings, and that is guidance from the state and from the CDC in a medical setting because you're in close proximity. There are vulnerable individuals in medical settings, and you're functioning in a real close proximity. So that
So
is
that
a
is
recommendation.
CDC guidance too?
CDC guidance, yes, sir.
Okay.
So I know that where we're at now with a lot of the guidance from the CDC is coming down in recommendation form. So schools, for instance, are able to work with us to assess how the community is, and right now our community is in a pretty solid spot to determine what they want to do with their masking in the fall.
Got it.
And I know Midland Public Schools has come out and said that we're not going to do masks for staff or students. It's a recommendation at this point. If there was an issue, that we would certainly come up with a stronger stance on a local level if that was necessary. But at this point, recommendations are softer than they were certainly a year ago. But medical setting is pretty much still standard at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know if the other schools have followed suit? Like
I've not seen
Creek
any
and Meridian?
announcements. Again, we have a
It'll be
meeting scheduled with
interesting.
them later this week, so I will find out. But I think that part of the last conversation we had with them is, a big part of it, and they've been great with reaching out to us for guidance. And a big part of it is figuring out what works for you and how your community is, because everything is not cookie cutter. So if our community was in a worse spot, I would certainly make a stronger recommendation, and I know that we've got a great partnership with them, and they would follow. So we're kind of, there's no perfect formula, but we're kind of taking the community, the recommendations, and the schools are making choices what's best for them. We certainly think there's going to be a different look to schools this fall with the way things are spaced, and I know the isolation and quarantine will be different. So I really anticipate that there's a better focus on keeping kids in school, because I think we and the schools have learned how to do that better. So I think it's going to be a more positive experience this fall.
Well, Fred, thanks for the update, and also thanks for all your hard work.
Okay, thank you
Much
very
appreciated.
So, appreciate your support and continue to push vaccine for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is public comment on anything that is not on the agenda. So we're going to have public comment. I'd like to remind everybody it's limited to 3 minutes. Did I miss something? That's limited to 3 minutes. It's a hard cutoff at 3 minutes. We do not answer or respond. It's called public comment for a reason, because there's no discussion, there's comment. So at this point, I'd like to ask, is there any public comment? Is there any public comment out there today? Seeing no? Okay, please. Okay, please state your name and address, and remember, there's a 3-minute hard cutoff. No discussion.
I'll start my time until I get up here. All right. Hi, thank you, Kelly Bax, Coleman, Michigan. I recently attended a meeting yesterday at the Warren Township Hall. I was sad to see that Jeanette Schneider wasn't there, being that she's my commissioner. I noted that there was Dominion machines sitting in the facility. There's a Coleman school vote coming up August 3rd, an emergency vote. We can't wait till next year. We're going to spend lots and lots of money asking for a $20 million bond. If those machines are used, I'm going to file an appeal. Those machines are suspect. They need to be looked into. You're supposed to hold them for 22 months. Shake your head all you want. I have that right as constitutional law. You were not supposed to touch those machines. They've been touched twice since the election. Shake your head. I'm telling you the truth. Fact, and I have it recorded. Next, on Saturday, Jeanette Schneider told at a public meeting that $341,176.97 was better to steal it, to repurpose it for a reason that it was not acquired for in the first place, than to mail it back because it would eat up all the funds. To mail back the taxes of $341,176.97 would cost that much to mail it back, than to give it back to people that rightfully paid for aquatic weed control, and instead to keep it. And then 2 days later, 4 Lakes Task Force sent out a letter saying, we're not going to do anything with the money right now. We don't know what we're going to do. But it was such an emergency that they had to send out an emergency notice meeting for people to show up to this meeting. And we had people on both sides for it and opposed to it. And the committee of self-appointed people, not elected officials, on the improvement board voted unanimously to keep that money, to repurpose it for another need, and did not have any plans for it. They said that they don't know how they're going to spend it yet. and they voted unanimously without discussion. In fact, one person said, we'd like to discuss this, and they said, no, we're just gonna go ahead and vote tonight. And they voted right away, and they kept the money. And 2 days later, Four Lakes Task Force said, well, we don't know what we're gonna do yet, but they do know they're not gonna spray poisons, and you shouldn't now. Thankfully, we all spoke up and we stopped that. Yeah, because that's what their plan was, to spray poisons. So again, this committee is shaking their head. You know that Dominion machines are suspect. Anybody that does not remove the Dominion machines or look into them should be held responsible if anything is proven that there was actual fraud and that they know that those machines were suspect and allowed people to tamper with them and to continue on. Go ahead, shake your head all you want. Shake your head. But people voted, and I voted on that machine, and I want to know that my vote counted, because that's my constitutional right. And there's enough proof out there all over the place. It's being seen, it's being reported. This man that spoke about vaccines didn't report to you that there has been 45,000 people now killed from the vaccine, died from the vaccine, and that young children are not susceptible.
3 minutes, Kelly. Done. Thank
That's
you.
3 minutes, thank you.
Is there any other public comment today? Any other public comments? Please state your name and address, and obviously the same rules still apply.
Hi, Tony Bax, Coleman, Michigan. Pardon my ignorance, I don't really know how all this works, but I notice that you guys vote a lot on what comes out of the committees. And I can't really get any information on how you guys make your decisions in the committees, on how you approve stuff. I tried to look for the minutes, but there is no minutes. So I was reading this here about, and I think this is for today, this is about Pinecrest Farms and Guardian Pharmacy. Supposed to be voting on that today. What I didn't know, what I couldn't find on this, it doesn't say anything about why you guys are recommending this. All it says is that we, the administrators and operators committee, recommend approval of the agreement between Pinecrest Farms and Guardian Pharmacy. Under this agreement, Guardian Pharmacy will deliver medications and supplies to Pinecrest residents. Why? Is that a bid? Do they have it before? I can't really find any of that information. So you guys could maybe give that to me, or make some minutes, or even put the agreement on there so I could read the agreement. You know, I couldn't find that either. So that's all I got.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Yes, please state your name and address, and obviously the same rules apply.
Yep, my name is Andres Shevchik. I live in A Township, 1751 South Whitney. And I have this email. I just want to touch on what Kelly said earlier about the email that came out from Four Lakes Task Force. I have 3 copies of this. So I'm sure you've seen it already. You were at the meeting. And I just want to touch on the fact that I'd like to know where the money's going, or what the money's being used for. Since, you know, they're not doing the weed control, and that's what it was approved for. What is Four Lakes Task Force acting as a bank for next year? And what if, you know, Wixom Lake Improvement Board comes up with, you know, a different way of treating the trees, you know, instead of using poison or instead of spraying from the air, will they have to ask for the money back from Four Lakes Task Force? I don't know how that works. I guess I'd like to get an explanation. You know, are they holding this money, or what are they going to do with it? It's $340,000 just from Wixom Lake Improvement Board, and of course there's the money from Sanford. You know, so I just like to, you know, if they're not doing anything, you know, it's kind of like having a contractor come out to your house and he wants to get paid up front, so you pay him up front, and then 2 days later, which is 2 days later for this email, he sends you a note, well, I'm not going to work on your house for a year. You're going to want your money back. You know, I mean, that's the way I feel. I don't know how you guys feel about this. So I'm a little confused as to what role Four Lakes Task Force has in holding this money or getting this money early, since they have no intention of using it for at least a year? I'd like to get an explanation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other public comments today? No other public comments. Let's move on to standing committee reports. Ann, would you read report number 1, please?
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Administration Operations Committee, recommend approval of the agreement between Pinecrest Farms and Guardian Pharmacy. Under this agreement, Guardian Pharmacy will deliver medications and supplies to Pinecrest residents, billable to the residents' respective insurance. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Nosen, Administration Operations Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends the adoption of item 51-6-21.
Is there any public comment on this item? Is there any commissioner discussion? Ann, call roll, please.
Commissioner Twilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Nosen,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 2, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen. We, your Administration Operations Committee, recommend approval of the vehicle agreement between Bay Area Narcotic Enforcement Team and the Midland County Sheriff's Office. Under the agreement, Bayonet will purchase a vehicle for the sheriff deputy assigned to their team and will be responsible for the vehicle maintenance. The county will be responsible for registration, insurance, and fuel cost. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Nosen, Administration Operations Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends the adoption of agenda item 53-6-21.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Please state your name and address.
Kelly Bax, 3893 Coleman, 3893 West Ridge Drive, Coleman, Michigan. My suggestion is that with all this pot legalization going on around Midland County, all the extra tax dollars that are being generated by those facilities, that's supposed to reimburse the legal counsel, the police force. So why not use that pot tax money that you guys are collecting on behalf of the state and get them to reimburse you guys to buy the vehicles for said police enforcement so that they can help them do their job instead of making the taxpayers pay for it?
Is there any other public comment? Is there any commissioner discussion? Ann, call roll, please.
Commissioner Twilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Nosen,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 3, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Administration and Operations Committee, recommend approval of the agreement between the 42nd Circuit Court and J&A Counseling and Evaluations Incorporated. The term of this agreement is from May 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. Under this agreement, J&A will provide treatment for adjudicated youth and their families, as well as consultation and training services for family court staff. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Nosen, Administration Operations Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends the adoption of agenda item 54-6-21.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Commissioner discussion? Ann, call roll, please.
Commissioner Geisler,
Yes.
Nosen,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Terwilliger,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 4, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen. We, your Administration Operations Committee, recommend approval of the proposed amendment to the Title 4D grant agreement between the Midland County Prosecuting Attorney's Office and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Nosen, Administration Operations Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends the adoption of agenda item 55-6-21.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Commissioner discussion? Ann, call roll, please.
Commissioner Nosen,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Terwilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 5, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen. We, your Administration Operations Committee, recommend approval of the proposed amendment to the Title 4D grant agreement between the Midland County Front of the Corps and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Noson, Administration Operations Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends adoption of Agenda Item 56-6-21.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Please state your name and address.
Kelly Bax, 3893 West Harsh Drive, Coleman, Michigan. My concern is if you're gonna give money, grant money to that gentleman that stood up here from the health department who didn't use the proper data and science, but wants to push vaccines on young children to force them to get them to go to school, I find that very concerning. I don't think you should be handing money away that taxpayers worked hard for to a person that doesn't supply me with the data and the science to back up what he just said when I asked for it before he left this room.
Is there any other public comment? Commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Noson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Terwilliger,
Yes.
Geisler.
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 6, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen. We, your Administration Operations Committee, recommend approval of the resolution to adopt the land use rules for Secord, Smallwood, Wixom, and Sanford Lakes. These rules were developed with input from both Midland and Gladwin counties, as well as the Four Lakes Task Force. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Noson, Administration Operations Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
I need a support on
Mr.
this.
Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends the adoption of Agenda Item 58-7-21.
And we-
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Noson. Is there any public comment on this item? Commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Terwilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Noson,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 7, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen. We, your Administration and Operations Committee and the Finance Committee have reviewed the request to approve the receipt of a grant in the amount of $100,000 from the Charles Strostacker Foundation. This grant award will be used to fund the Monarch Academy project at the Juvenile Care Center. We recommend approval of the grant and that the Administrator Controller be authorized to make the necessary budget adjustments. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Noson, Administration Operations Committee, Scott Noson, Chairperson, James Geisler, Jeanette Snyder, Finance Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends the adoption of Agenda Item 52-6-21.
And Commissioner Noson.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee also recommends adoption of Agenda Item 52-6-21.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Twilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Noson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 8, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen. We, your Administration Operations Committee and the Finance Committee, recommend approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between Midland County and the Four Lakes Task Force. Under the MOU, Four Lakes Task Force will provide technical and administrative assistance for removal of flood debris from county property. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Noson, Administration Operations Committee, Scott Noson, Chairperson, James Geisler, Jeanette Snyder, Finance Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends adoption of Agenda Item 59-7-21.
And Commissioner Noson.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee also recommends adoption of Agenda Item 59-7-21.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Yes, state your name and address, please.
Kelly Bax, 3893 West Harsh Drive, Coleman, Michigan. I would think that Four Lakes Task Force would want to clean up the mess that they made. And I also hope that they don't use the funds that was acquired within the last couple of days from the Wixom Lake Improvement Board to make that cleanup. Being that Four Lakes Task Force was overseeing the operations at the time of the flood, they have responsibility. And as it was stated by the attorney sitting here today, that they're also still subject to a lawsuit pending. So yes, they should clean up their mess, but it should not be the taxpayers through grant money to do it. They've acquired enough grant money from the state. It's time for them to get busy. And I hope that the legislature that doesn't want to look into the election fraud thinks about that. With the bills that they pass, they should remove Four Lakes Task Force from that, put the owners of the dams, which is the counties, in lieu of the receipt of money. And when they look into the election fraud, I hope that they look all the way down to the clerk's office to see if those seats were also stolen.
Is there any,
Come on, smirk, you're on camera.
any other public comments?
Yeah, I was just confused on what the technical and administrative assistance actually is. I don't see that on here.
Yeah, you're gonna vote on it, what is it?
Any other public comment?
You're gonna vote. You wanna say-
Commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Twilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Noson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 9, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Administration and Operations Committee and the Finance Committee, have reviewed the request to approve the agreement between Midland County and Catherine Bodner for medical director coverage. The term of this agreement is from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024. We recommend approval of the agreement and that the Administrator Controller be authorized to make the necessary budget adjustments. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Noson, Administration and Operations Committee, Scott Noson, Chairperson, James Geisler, Jeanette Snyder, Finance Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends adoption of agenda item 60-7-21.
And Commissioner Noson.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, the Finance Committee also recommends adoption of agenda item 60-7-21.
Is there any public comment on this item? Commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Geisler.
Yes.
Commissioner Noson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Twilliger,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 10, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Administration Operations Committee and the Finance Committee, have reviewed the agreement with Isabella Corporation for the provision of construction services to repair and restore a flood-damaged portion of the Pere Marquette Rail Trail. The term of the agreement is from the date of signature through completion of repairs. We recommend approval of the agreement and that the Administrator Controller be authorized to make the necessary budget adjustments. Respectfully submitted, James Geisler, Chairperson, Scott Noson, Administration Operations Committee, Scott Noson, Chairperson, James Geisler, Jeanette Snyder, Finance Committee.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Chairman, the A&O Committee recommends the adoption of agenda item 61-7-21.
Commissioner Noson.
Mr. Chair, the Finance Committee also recommends adoption of agenda item 61-7-21.
Is there any public comment on this item? Yes, state your name and address, please.
Kelly Bass, 3893 West Hurst Drive, Pullman, Michigan. How much money are you putting in the budget to cover the cost of repairing the Pere Marquette Railway? Because I know earlier this year you had a grant that was set up to also make repairs to that same railway. So how many grants are we gonna put towards this, and why isn't all recovered if you had a grant previously to work on the Pere Marquette Rail Trail? Why is that not included in this budget? And how much is this one for, before you vote on it?
Any other public comment? Seeing none? Any commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
I have some.
Oh,
Sorry.
you do? Okay.
It's okay. I know there's-
I didn't catch you on
I
the
just
corner.
want to thank Bridget for working on this and all the meetings we had on this and just getting this taken care of for the village of Sanford and moving forward. And so thank you for doing that. I know a lot of work went into that.
You're welcome.
That's
Thank
all.
you.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Noson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Twilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 11, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed. Ladies and gentlemen, we, your Finance Committee, have reviewed the Midland County Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board proposed budget for the operation of emergency medical services presented by the Mid-Michigan Medical Center for Midland County, covering the fiscal year from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. We recommend acceptance of the proposed budget and further recommend approval of the request to levy .55 mills for the calendar year 2022. Respectfully submitted, Scott Noson, Chairperson, James Geisler, Jeanette Snyder, Finance Committee.
Commissioner Noson.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee recommends adoption of Agenda Item 50-6-21.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Noson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Terwilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Committee report number 12, please.
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Finance Committee and the Human Services Committee, have reviewed the request to create a full-time managed assigned council coordinator position to manage the county's indigent defense program. We recommend creation of this position, approval of the job description, and scoring completed by Municipal Consulting Services, LLC, for this position, and that the Administrator Controller be authorized to make any necessary budget adjustments. Respectfully submitted, Scott Noson, Chairperson, James Geisler, Jeanette Snyder, Finance Committee, and Gay Twilliger, Human Services Committee.
Commissioner Noson.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee recommends adoption of Agenda Item 57-7-21.
And Commissioner Twilliger.
Mr. Chairman, Human Service recommends adoption of 57-7-21.
Is there any public comment on this item? Yes, state your name and address, please.
Kelly Bax, 3893 West Hurst Drive, Coleman, Michigan. I'd like to state for the record that anytime a question is asked before you take a vote, put on tax dollars on the people of this state and of this county, that you are breaking the law by not answering that question when it's directly put towards you.
That would have been done earlier in the meeting. This is on this item right here. So that's it. You're out of line.
Thank you.
Yep, you're out of line. Is there any other public comment?
You're out of line. You wanna answer the question?
Any commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Twilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Noson,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Thank you. That is it for our standing committee reports. We have no RPCs today, but I do believe we have one item of old business.
We do. Dated June 15th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen, the Board of Commissioners met in a closed session and considered the performance of the Administrator Controller and her contribution to the county's accomplishments during the past 12 months. The conclusion of the Board of Commissioners after the performance review is that the mutually agreed goals and objectives for 2020-2021 were predominantly managed and/or completed in a manner that exceeds expectations. Respectfully submitted, Mark Bone, Chairperson, Gay Twilliger, Scott Noson, James Geisler, Jeanette Snyder, Midland County Board of Commissioners.
Commissioner Noson.
Mr. Chair, the Board of Commissioners recommends adoption of 40-5-21.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Any commissioner discussion? And call roll, please.
Commissioner Terwilliger,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Noson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent, motion carries. Sorry.
Thank you. We do have one item of new business. I would take a motion to take that up.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. And would you read the item of new business, please?
Dated July 16th, properly addressed, ladies and gentlemen, I recommend the following reappointments to the Board of Public Works. Mr. Roger Crockett for a 3rd time, Mr. William Stewart for a 4th term, with both terms ending on December 31st, 2023. I also recommend accepting the recommendation from the Midland Business Alliance for the following appointments to the Economic Development Corporation of the County of Midland, 338. Mr. Mike Wood as a representative of the Township Government Sector for a partial term expiring December 31st, 2024. Ms. Hannah Marilette as a representative of the Management and Business Sector for a partial term expiring December 31st, 2026. Lastly, I recommend accepting the recommendation from the Honorable Chief Judge Karras to appoint Ms. Anna Wojda to the Midland County Jury Board due to the vacancy created by the passing of former board member Penny Fleshman. Ms. Wojda will serve a partial term ending on April 30th, 2024. Respectfully submitted, Scott Noson, District Number 7, Midland County Board of Commissioners.
Commissioner Noson.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend adoption of the new business item 62-7-21.
Do we have any public comment on this one? Any commissioner discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same? Okay, we will approve that, and thank you to all that are willing to serve. That's much appreciated. We're going to move on to closing items now, and we're going to start with commissioner comments. And under comments, we can make comments. We can also do updates at this point, since we had to shorten our executive committee. So touch on your comments, and then we'll move on to meeting schedules after comments and updates. And I am going to start with, flip too far.
I would just pick one.
Yeah, we're going to start with Commissioner Geisler today.
Okay, I have no comment.
Commissioner Nosen.
Just a comment that much of the work that we do is done at subcommittee level, or committee level, as we would call it. Those are Open Meetings Act. They are open to the public, and we welcome any participation at that point.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Snyder.
So it's been busy, as you heard a little bit about during other comment times. We did have a Wixom Lake public hearing on Saturday. We have that on Saturday to allow for, since Wixom Lake is mostly vacation homes, we were hoping usually have the public hearing on a Saturday so those folks can come up from Detroit or wherever they live and can participate. And it was a good meeting. It lasted 2 hours. There's a lot of information. We had met an hour, I think 2 hours prior to that to discuss, which is also a public meeting. We can either legally, we can either let the funds sit there that were collected December 2019. It was supposed to be for weed treatment on Wixom Lake to be utilized in the 2020 year. Obviously, we didn't have that happen. So when you want to repurpose those funds, you have to have a public hearing. We repurposed them, but kept the description as close as possible to using them for the disaster on the lake. So using them within the same means that they were collected for. And administratively, I'm sure most of you know, but when you collect taxes, taxes stay with the home. So if that owner's deceased or they move, then the refunded money would go back to the home, the address of where it was collected. And by the time you sort it out and you pay people to sort it out and then to distribute it, it's just very expensive. And there was $324,000, and that would get ate up pretty fast. So the board did choose unanimously to utilize that money for further disaster relief on Wixom. And then as per statute, monies that are collected in assessments, they're held in the respective drain commissioners' authority. So that money is either in Gladwin County for Wixom, or it's in Sanford Lake, would be the Midland County Drain Commissioner. So the money is held within the county. And then if it's deemed that, Four Lakes or whoever's helping with the disaster recovery or treating of the weeds, then they need to issue an invoice to the office and then a check is issued. But the monies are kept within the respective counties of where they're collected. And then just to touch on, I didn't go to Warren Township last night meeting. This month I went to the village of Sanford, Geneva Township, and Jerome, where it was also spoke of the school millage that's going on. That's completely up to the schools. They have the right to call this millage if they feel it's appropriate. The Coleman schools do touch a lot of my areas, so I heard the presentation 3 times at the village, Geneva, and Jerome meeting of why they're having the millage and asking for that money. And Coleman schools are 42 years old. Some of the classrooms, they're shaped like a triangle or a hexagon. And so with today's learning, they're just not set up ideally. So they want to make good use of their space. Some of the desks that they have are still attached. So for a left-handed student to utilize the desk, they just have a lot of obstacles. And so it was a wonderful presentation at all of those meetings. And I do just want to touch on and say thank you to Bridget. We kind of skipped over it because we have some noise, unfortunately, in our audience. But I do just want to say that, Bridget, thank you for doing a good job. And you had a flood and COVID and everything else that comes up. And we just thank you that you did a great job there. We had a lengthy parks meeting too, a lot of public comment. We have a lot going on in Sanford. I believe the Parks Commission heard a lot, and then we pressed toward the goals of the public comment, and that was all very good too. We made some progress today by approving some things that will help in the area, and I just want to keep it brief. So it made sense in the busyness of everything that we were doing to lump all the county parks together and to request funds, and Bridget knows about this, and then maybe make some adjustments to help get the rail trail back open sooner, because River Trails in Edenville is such a mess, and they require different things. So I appreciate Bridget's flexibility and helping to work to get all that accomplished. And I could say a lot about the road commission too, but I think I've said enough. But if you have any questions, road commission, business as usual, thank you. It's been a busy month.
Thank you. Commissioner Twilliger.
Yes, I would like to thank Commissioner Snyder for answering a lot of questions that were brought up today, and that's valuable information, or even for myself, and I appreciate that. I really don't have any comment for just making comments, so do we want to move into schedule now?
Well, no, we don't, because I still have
Because
comment.
you have to do
So, yeah,
yours.
yeah, and then I'll call that. I'll call it.
Okay.
So I was also going to say the same thing. Another really, really solid year. You make our jobs easier, Bridget, so thank you for all your hard work. I'd also like to say thank you to the Strosacker Foundation for yet another donation. Without these foundations, our county couldn't do what they do. So we're very fortunate. So I'm just going to give a thank you to two people, one foundation and our administrator controller, and move on to meeting schedule now. And we will start with Commissioner Geisler.
A&O, Tuesday, July 27th at 2:30 in the conference room on the first floor. That's it for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Nosen.
Yes, immediately after this, I have a meeting with the Water Asset Management Council at 11:30, and actually another meeting on Thursday with that same council at 9:30. The MAC board meets on the 21st at 10 a.m. The We Hear You group is meeting at 5 p.m. on the 21st. Finance Committee will meet on the 27th at 1:30. And I think that's it for, do we go to the 17th of August? Is that?
Yes.
27th at 1:30 is
Oh,
your
the third.
finance.
Oh,
August 3rd, yeah.
Next board meeting is the 3rd.
Got it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Snyder.
So on the 22nd, I'm going to go to the road commission meeting. I'm going to check with Coleman. They have two meetings, the city of Coleman. They have one at the beginning of the month and later. If they're having the one on the 27th, I'm going to go to that one in the evening. And that's it till our next BOC meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Twilliger.
Yes, I wanted to just provide a couple of updates, and thank you, Bridget, for.
We're on meeting schedule now.
I am.
okay, okay,
So that's
okay,
part
updates,
of
okay.
meeting updates of
Okay.
where I have been.
Okay.
And we didn't do that? Is that okay?
You can do it now. We
Okay.
Called on it
That,
last time.
that
but
was
you can
my
do it. Yeah, yeah,
understanding.
yeah.
So with regard to Pinecrest, basically, the intergenerational space is complete. That's a big benefit to residents, as well as the other big initiative is to increase the population there. Trying to get to 50 residents by the end of September. There are 27 individuals that are on the list. Many of the activities that were prior benefits for the residents have been opened up. Things are going well with our new staff. From from the other meetings that I attend, senior services is increased almost all of their prior activities back to normal. Drug court is still virtual. Most of the meetings are opening back up. The only meeting that I have between now and the next board meeting is human service, which I will make that announcement on July 26th. Thank you.
Thank you. I move on to me, and I have July 22nd at 3:30 at the Juvenile Center. I have Midland Kids First. And on Monday, August 2nd, same time, 3:30 at the Midland we have the Midland Business Alliance meeting. So that's what I have before August 3rd. And that's all I have to announce for meetings, and that's the end of our business. So
Move to adjourn.
do we have support?
Support.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. This meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, August 17th. We've got it on the 13th, but it's the 3rd.
It's the third.
It's the 3rd, yes. 2021 at 9 a.m. to meet in an executive session of the Board of Commissioners and for the committees to resume their duties. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Yeah, do that for me, Liz.
Yeah, I gotta fill this.